You're watching KWQC TV, the news leader, making a difference in the Quad Cities. Live from the Quad Cities, with Morgan Otier and Kyle Keel, this is Quad Cities Live.
Today on QCL, artificial intelligence is everywhere, from the apps we use to the tools businesses rely on. Rouse Consulting Group is here to answer your questions and make sure we're using AI safely and effectively.
Plus, expert advice on introducing intentional challenges at work and how that can spark innovation, engagement, and growth for both employees and organizations.
Plus, sustainable gardening with the Iowa State Extension. Learn more about an upcoming workshop covering topics like soil health, water management, and plant choices. This is the season. Welcome to Quad Cities Live. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Kyle Keel.
I'm Morgan Otier. Well, excitement is building once again for the John Deere Classic. Yeah. But this year, there's a new twist, a special event celebrating women in leadership, giving back to the community, and a peek behind the scenes of the tournament itself.
Yes, it's called Executive Women's Day, and it's all happening on Tuesday, July 1st. And here to tell us about it is Annika Martin. She's the manager of donor and community impact with the John Deere Classic. Annika, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here
Yes,
today.
of course. So, we were talking before the show that this actually isn't something new at the John Deere Classic. It's just kind of back after a break from COVID. So what inspired you all to bring this back?
Well, it's something we really love doing, several years ago, and we're just really excited to bring it back, kind of revamp it a little bit, refresh it, and bring it back for this audience.
Well, that's really exciting. I was reading all about it, just preparing for our segment today, but take us through it. Take us through the day. It's July 1st from start to finish.
What's really cool about doing it on Tuesday of tournament week is that that's a day that the course is actually closed to the public. So it really makes it an exclusive experience for everybody that comes. It's going to be a morning-long event, so everybody can come, have breakfast, experience the program, and then we're going to do a kind of peek behind the curtain and look at some of the areas that spectators don't typically get to experience during tournament week. So I think that's kind of one of the really unique things that we get to do because it's during an event like the golf tournament.
Yeah, and there's a special speaker that's going to be
a big special speaker.
Well,
there is. We really wanted to kind of knock this out of the park and do something really, really special. And so we are just so excited to have Lisa Bluder come and be a part of this event. So we're thrilled. We're thrilled to have her as the keynote speaker.
So why did you choose her for your keynote?
Well, we do have
obvious, but
we do have a little bit of a history with Lisa and with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark did come a couple years ago for our Wednesday Pro-Am.
And she was great.
She was. She did such a great job, and she stayed for the Youth Day experiences, and she really just made that day so much fun. And so we just have a history with them and with their team, and really she was the first name at the top of our list for this program, and we're thrilled that she's going to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's a total draw. I mean, even just like the event sounds great on its own, but then you can meet Lisa Bluder. Like that is really
cool. A lot of
cool.
Hawkeye fans happy about that.
Yes, absolutely. So talk a little bit more about how this event specifically shines a light on women in leadership across the Quad Cities.
We want to celebrate women in leadership. We have some incredible women in leadership in the Quad Cities, but that's maybe not an audience that we really have in abundance at the John Deere Classic.
Sure.
So really we wanted to have something where we could highlight that audience and really bring that to the forefront. So we really think that this is a really great opportunity for that, and then especially with such a great example of that in our keynote speaker. And then also not just celebrating the women in leadership, but also lifting up our charitable side on the Birdies for Charity philanthropic arm of what we do. So really that's going to kind of be the dual purpose of the event, is to really celebrate those women in our community who are really making a big difference, and then celebrating the Birdies for Charity program that's also making a big difference.
Yeah, so what all are you hoping for attendees to take away from the event? Obviously the fact that, women, a lot of important women are leaders in our community, and you kind of mentioned the charity side of it as well. You kind of want people to take away that the charitable aspect of the John Deere Classic as well.
Absolutely. I mean, last year we had nearly 500 nonprofits participate in Birdies for Charity, and we fundraise year-round through the bonus fund on Birdies for Charity in order to provide that bonus match, which we give to every single one of our participating charities that fundraise through us. So all the proceeds from this event are going to go towards the bonus fund. So this event is supporting that and all of our nonprofits. So really it's just a way for us to really lift this up, celebrate it, and also celebrate those women that you know we really want to bring to the forefront.
Well, and for anybody that's watching right now that may be a little bit unfamiliar with how it all works, can you kind of just give a brief overview of Birdies for Charity itself, what it is and how it works, how it benefits all these nonprofits?
Absolutely. We have some incredible nonprofits in the Quad City area. Prior to working for the John Deere Classic, I worked for one of those nonprofits that fundraises through Birdies for Charity. Donors can give direct donations to those nonprofits through Birdies for Charity, and then they get 100% of those donations back in the fall. In addition to 100% of those donations, like I said, we give that bonus match. We promise 5% on all the donations. In some years, we've been able to give up to 10%.
Wow.
So really, it's an incredible boost to donations. So it's a great way for donors to give and make a bigger impact on those charities that they really want to support.
And I mean, let's talk about the impact of that bonus match on these organizations.
You know, and it's really impactful for a lot of organizations, whether it's a really big nonprofit that is maybe getting a larger number because the donations that came in were really substantial.
Sure.
And it's a really big deal for smaller nonprofits where maybe they didn't get as many donations, but they're still getting that percentage match. And I mean, charities of all sizes are really seeing a benefit from that bonus match.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. Well, it sounds like the restart of an annual tradition at the John Deere Classic. It also sounds like a really good opportunity for these women to all be in one place at one time for like some networking.
Absolutely. I mean, there's never enough time for us to get to meet each other and to lift each other up. And so I'm really excited for that opportunity. Like I said, it's a morning-long event, so there's definitely going to be an opportunity for that. And while it is an event celebrating all those fantastic women in leadership and the philanthropic arm of the John Deere Classic, you know, that it's not exclusive to them. Anyone is welcome to this event.
Okay.
Right.
So it's really going to be really great for the whole community.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're bringing this back in a big way. So do you see this coming back year after year, kind of making it an annual thing again?
Well, let's get as much community support as we
Let's
can
do it.
for it
Yeah.
so that we can bring it back.
Absolutely.
In the future.
So if you want to participate, the John Deere Classic Executive Women's Day is Tuesday, July 1st at TPC Deere Run in Silvis. You can buy individual tickets or an entire table. And if you want to learn more about giving back through Birdies for Charity, as we mentioned, you can visit birdiesforcharity.com. Annika, thank you so much for
Thank you.
talking about this important day.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Coming up, artificial intelligence. It's everywhere now, but how can we make sure we're using AI safely and effectively? We'll sit down with an expert from Rouse Consulting Group next.
You're watching Quad Cities Live.
Artificial intelligence is transforming the way we live, work, and interact, from virtual assistants like ChatGPT to tools like Copilot and Gemini. AI is quickly becoming a part of our daily lives. But as the technology rapidly advances, it also raises important questions about security, privacy, and its potential risks. Rouse Consulting Group is helping us navigate these issues, and joining us from Rouse Consulting is Eric Van Spybrook. Eric, thanks for being here.
Glad to be back, Morgan.
Welcome back. Okay, so let's get started. AI adoption, from a business and consumer perspective, why do you think that it's happening so fast? What's driving the rapid growth?
Yeah, so the concept of AI has been around for a handful of years. We're seeing a much larger adoption over the last couple of years, and really AI is one of those blanketed terms in our industry. It's kind of like the cloud. So
Sure.
it's multifaceted, right? So it can mean different things to different people. So for a college student, they may be using something like a ChatGPT to assist with writing papers, hopefully not writing the paper for
Writing
themselves.
the whole paper, right?
But for businesses, you have maybe marketing people using it to generate collateral, marketing collateral.
Yeah.
You could have nonprofits use it to help with writing grants or RFP submissions. You have technology companies using it to help build better processes or automate certain workflows within their organization. So
Okay.
the technology is out there. We're just seeing a much larger mass adoption of that.
Yeah, we absolutely are. And so with the widespread use of AI tools, there's a lot of excitement, of course, as you were just alluding to. Not everybody fully understands the risks involved. So can you kind of walk us through some of those security and privacy concerns that really consumers but also businesses should be aware of?
Absolutely. First off, with any emerging technology, you always want to be first to the market, right?
Yeah.
So with that, unfortunately, security takes a back seat.
Right.
And so we're seeing some of that with organizations trying to navigate the waters of governance and policies and what to be mindful of. And first, it's good to know what engines you're using. Is it open to the public? Is it private? What questions you're going to ask it? And more importantly, what information you're feeding that engine? Because if a situation were to happen where there's some sort of breach or compromise, your data, or worse, your company's or client's data could be subject to some more malicious threats.
Okay, yes, definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're working through a business perspective. You just don't want to be the one that puts all of that at risk. So many people don't realize that AI tools, they can actually store or learn the data that they're given. So could you kind of elaborate on how AI interacts with this data and why it's something that, you know, could be helpful, but also something that people should be mindful of?
Absolutely. So these AI engines just consumes and analyzes data. So in the reference of something more open to the public, it could look at every information on the internet and generate responses based on that information it sees and understands.
Okay.
That's obviously a double-edged sword, because if there's information out there and were to be breached, then that can be taken against you in some sort of malicious threat. So again, it goes back to understanding what information you're providing those engines and knowing what the output could be because of that.
Okay, and you already kind of touched on this, but talk a little bit more about businesses facing some unique challenges. So especially when employees, they're using AI tools without necessarily the oversight of IT departments. Talk a little bit about something called shadow AI.
Right, love these terms, right? So
Right.
shadow AI is a concept of, again, employees utilizing these AI functions and chat features without the companies knowing about it. And not that they're using it in a malicious way, but there's no safety rails or safeguards or policies or governance in how those AI engines can be used, right?
Okay.
So that's the message back to the organizations is, let's generate some sort of policy, some governance around useful ways of using AI engines and what to protect your employees and businesses from. And creating those guidelines so that those employees know that, and then audit on top of that. So there's some auditing aspects as well, so that when the employees are utilizing these AI engines, that we're actually auditing what questions are being asked and then what information is being fed to these groups.
Okay, so yeah, putting protocols in place, so, you know, beforehand.
Absolutely.
So those questions aren't there. Okay, so speaking of, what are some more actionable steps that consumers and businesses can be taking right now?
Yep, so it's just understanding, again, what AI engines are out there, which ones are open to the public, which ones are a little bit more private, more secure, and then defining those guardrails or policies for the employees, and really homing in on what is acceptable use policies for those employees, and again, those auditing practices. Unfortunately, we've seen breaches already with some of these emerging technologies. A company, DeepSeek, 2 months ago had a malicious breach where all their information was flooded onto the dark web, and bad guys are now taking measures to utilize that information, whether it's logon credentials, full chat history, or even source code based back to.
That is scary.
It is.
Yeah, really scary. So yeah, just having maybe even just like a point person or a couple people within a business that can kind of head up, you know, how are we going to handle this, and the do's and don'ts.
It's an amazing tool, but it has to be used safely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Rouse Consulting is hosting an upcoming event. If you're interested in anything that we're talking about today, which honestly you should be, because it's all around us at this point.
It's the Wild West.
It's the Wild West, isn't it? So AI versus hype, cutting through the noise. That's the name of the event. So talk a little bit about what participants can expect. It's coming up May 8th.
May 8th, 4 to 7. We're getting a lot of questions from our clients about acceptable use policies. When is AI appropriate? When should we be doing it? When should we be limiting it for our employees? And so we created an event to answer those questions for them. We're going to be at Iron T at TBK Sports Complex. About a 45-minute presentation. Following that, we've got about 2+ hours of hitting some golf balls and enjoying some food and drinks.
Fun.
And maybe taking some strokes off your handicap.
Yeah, there you go. Well, no, it is a great place to honestly have any event, because they have a lot of space in there for you to do this and then just have a little bit of fun. But speaking of, I mean, the event itself, who should be attending this event? What are some of the key takeaways that you hope people will leave with, especially people that maybe come as individuals?
Absolutely. So AI is obviously targeting all verticals, right? So if you're a business leader, if you're a decision maker who's thinking about utilizing AI or has questions about how they should utilize AI, or organizations that don't have an internal IT group that's supporting them, you just have questions in general, a great event to attend. We'd love for you to join and sign up and see you there and learn a few things.
Absolutely. Well, and before I let you go, you know, as we see, things are constantly changing, AI is constantly transforming. what are some things that you think maybe we should be keeping in mind, whether we are a consumer or a business, moving forward as we continue to see things evolve?
Like I said, this is the future, right?
Yeah.
What you don't want to do as a business is bury your head in the sand, right? We need to adopt these new technologies as they come, absorb them, learn how to use them, but in an appropriate, safe manner.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, so AI versus hype, cutting through the noise. It is May 8th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Iron Tea Golf in Bettendorf, a fun spot. This is free to attend, by the way. I don't think that we mentioned that. So you are getting a ton of knowledge. You don't have to pay for it, but there's limited seating, so registration is required. And if you want to find a link to register, just visit Rouse Consulting on social media. It is all over their social media. Eric, as always, thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you, Morgan. Glad to be here.
Of course. Coming up on QCL, is the key to success at work about making things easier? Well, we'll get some expert advice that says no. Sometimes it's actually smarter to add a little complexity to the job. That's next.
You're watching Quad Cities Live.
In today's corporate world, we often hear about the importance of making things easier, more streamlined and frictionless. But what if making things harder could actually be the key to greater productivity? Our next guest has some thought-provoking ideas about why sometimes it's smarter to add a little complexity into the mix. Andrea Belk-Olsen is the CEO of Pragmatic, and she is here to talk more about creating better outcomes with some intentional challenges. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. I love all your insight all the time. And you're a business consultant and a coach, so you work with many companies through Pragmatic and otherwise. So you recently wrote an article about challenging conventional wisdom of making everything easier in the workplace. So let's start out by having you kind of explain what you mean when you say sometimes it is smarter to make things harder.
Yep, absolutely. I'm really talking about intentional complexity. So taking moments and making it actually harder, forcing critical thinking, forcing people to analyze their ideas and work through a problem. Because with this frictionless environment that we have and the push towards that, we kind of lose that critical thinking.
Yeah.
And we kind of diminish that skill. And actually, 80% of employers are looking for that skill. They say it's the most important skill they need, actually above and beyond college degrees.
Somebody who can think critically in any type of scenario. I mean, it makes sense. So you mentioned in the article that everything is designed to be easy, so people stop thinking. And you kind of just alluded to that. How does that really impact both short-term and long-term productivity at an organization?
Well, short-term, it seems great, right? Everything's efficient. But in the long term, we kind of get trapped and tied to those rigid processes.
Yeah.
Those things that, you know, become autopilot, and we don't really think about the why. We don't think about the purpose, and the challenge is we lose that critical thinking skill.
Yeah, and you talk about intentional complexity can lead to greater cognitive engagement. So I guess talking more in this instance about employee development and innovation with the organization, how does that impact employees specifically?
Well, I mean, the most important thing is that it builds mental muscle, right?
Yeah.
So when you have people challenged to think critically, they're put outside their comfort zone.
Yes.
And they're in an environment where maybe it's different, but that really encourages them and helps them grow and develop in a way that helps them tackle these weird challenges and problems through practice and repetition.
Being more comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So they're, when they face a bit of complexity, they become better at spotting patterns, anticipating problems sometimes before they arise.
Exactly.
Things like that are what you talk about in this article. So in what ways can companies, I suppose, encourage this kind of learning and agility?
Well, I mean, the most important thing is to create an environment where questions can be asked, and questions are encouraged. Questions that push the status quo, ask why things are being done, look at new perspectives and new ways to do things, and start building that behavior as something that's a habit within and across the organization.
I feel like, yeah, you talk about that it shouldn't be a maze, but people shouldn't be spoon-fed either. So it's a balancing act from what it sounds like, which I think is wherein the difficulty may lie for an organization or a business, because finding that balance is so crucial but can be so difficult. So how can a business do that without overwhelming their employees?
Right. Well, think about it as like, let's say it was like resistance training. You don't want not enough because you won't grow, but too much you can cause injury.
Right.
So what you need to do is be intentional about where you put that complexity in, into a challenge that has been hanging around a long time, that needs different perspectives, and something that really adds a lot of value to the organization.
Okay, so let's talk actionable steps. What are some actionable steps that organizations can take to introduce complexities to their processes without, of course, as we discussed, creating some frustration among employees? I mean, transparency here, I feel like, is very key. I mean, being open and honest about, evolving with your employees.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think there's two things that come to mind. One is what I like to call think moments. And think moments are those discussions where you're kind of maybe challenged of what was your thought process behind this decision? What are the things you considered? Did you look at different angles, and kind of force you to articulate that mentality? The second thing is, I think we don't need to be so dependent on templates. There's a lot of organizations that have processes and templates. They say fill this in and move on, and you kind of again lose that ability to say, why are we doing this, where are we going, and what are we trying to achieve?
Yeah, not necessarily everything fits in that box, depending on what what business you're in and what organization you're working with. So is there a way to kind of measure or track employee development over time, especially when it comes to something like this? I mean, let's say, we have Andrea come in and help our company introduce some of these complexities, some of these challenges. Is there a way to measure that over time and go, wow, you know what, this was a great idea, and this is what I'm seeing because of it?
Yeah, I think the thing that you're going to see and be able to track the easiest is employee behaviors. Are they asking the right questions? Are they looking at new ideas? Are they exploring new perspectives? And you're going to start to see that grow and snowball over time as that behavior becomes habit.
Okay, so as a strategic change agency, we're talking about Pragmatic now. You're a consulting business. So how does Pragmatic work with clients to implement some of these things? I mean, where would we start if we called you up and said, hey, come help us?
Yeah, sure. We use a proprietary process called a steering guide. And it's not a template, it's not an answer sheet, but it's meant to help employees ask better questions, right questions, and work through that kind of process where they're analyzing and understanding what they're trying to achieve. So that means, how can we do this different? How can we look at it different? And that really kind of helps elevate the, mental agility of the organization overall.
Okay, and so if businesses want to start creating some environments where they are challenging and engaging their employees, let's say they're not ready to start working with a consulting company right off the bat, are there places that they can start to do this? I mean, where can they start?
Sure. I think there's two very basic steps to it.
Okay.
One is decide what is the most important, complex, unwieldy challenge you have that you need different perspectives and new ideas to really elevate. And then second, work through that process with your team, gather small groups, and start challenging them to think about new ways to do it. It's something that's not going to come quickly. It's going to take time. It might be sloppy and slow. But as you'll see, when you build that mental muscle, you're going to get a lot better output.
I love that. Yeah, really an interesting take. And if you want to hear more from Andrea, which of course you do, from articles to podcasts to TED Talks, you can visit her on the web at AndreaBelkOlson.com. And of course, to learn more about consulting services through Pragmatic, visit pragmatic.com. Andrea, thank you so much. The article is great and the insight is great. Lots of just thought-provoking points there.
Yeah, so fantastic. Thank you so much
for being here. Thank you. Coming up in our second half hour, easy and delicious ways to add more greens to your everyday meals. A Hy-Vee dietitian will show us why greens deserve a spot on your plate. And later, which invasive plants to keep an eye on. We're getting our hands dirty with sustainable gardening tips from ISU Extension and Outreach.
And speaking of green and gardening, we have plenty of rain chances in the forecast, and we are also tracking the potential for severe weather. First alert day in effect Monday and Tuesday for that potential, but we have a few more chances for rain ahead of that. We'll take a look at that ahead in your accurate first alert forecast coming up on Quad Cities Live.
accurate and reliable. This is your First Alert forecast with meteorologist Kyle Keel.
We'll be starting off with some clouds, even some areas with some rain, even a few stronger thunderstorms during the overnight hours. But hey, this afternoon, it's actually shaped up to be a very nice day with a mix of clouds and blue sky. Everywhere Camera Network showing just that across eastern Iowa, western Illinois. Not too windy out there. We've got those winds generally about 10 to 15, at times up to 20 miles per hour. But it's a warm wind as we have those temperatures that have warmed into the 70s. Now tonight we do have a calmer night of weather ahead, although we are tracking the potential for a few scattered storms, mainly northwest of the Quad Cities. I think Joe Davies County, maybe Dubuque, Jackson, Cedar, Jones County have the best chance for a few of those thunderstorms tonight. Warm day expected here tomorrow. We'll have highs back in the upper 70s to low 80s. Just an outside chance for a few showers here to the north, maybe a pop-up thunderstorm in the afternoon. But we're looking at a better chance for rain here as we head into Friday. Could see that in the afternoon hours as well, and then into next week as well. So we've highlighted that in red because we are tracking the potential for severe weather here as we head into early next week. We'll get to that here in just a moment, but no severe weather out there right now. We've got a sunny sky with a few clouds out there. Again, shaping up to be a very nice evening of weather here across the QCA, but we are tracking front here just off to our north and west. It's kind of stalled down, and this is going to be the focal point for some thunderstorm development here as we head into the evening hours. There is a level 1 risk of severe weather. It technically does include parts of the TV6 viewing area. I think the higher risk of thunderstorms will be off to the northwest, and the overall risk of severe weather, similar to last night, very low. I think a couple of stronger storms could contain hail. Again, that threat does stay outside of the viewing area. Tonight we'll have temperatures that will be pretty mild. We'll call it warm with lows in the mid-50s. We'll see an increase in the cloud cover. Again, northwest of the Quad Cities could have a couple of showers and thunderstorms. Then tomorrow, temperatures really jump up very quickly. We'll start the day with quite a bit of cloud cover. Should end the day with some sunshine. Highs back in the low 80s for many of us. And we'll have another day in the low 80s as well, which we'll look at in the 7-day forecast here coming up in just a couple of minutes. But let's walk you through exact track here this afternoon into the evening. We'll have those southerly winds overnight with those clouds moving in. That keeps our temperatures in the 50s. But here we are at midnight. Notice we've got those storms kind of lining up with that front here off to our north and west. That's essentially where those storms will stay. Could see a couple kind of meander into our northwestern hometowns late tonight and early tomorrow morning, but otherwise they are expected to just pretty much fall apart as they move into our area. As we head through exact track here through the day on Thursday, through the afternoon hours, mainly dry. Now Friday is going to be a little bit interesting because this run of exact track actually had a line of showers and thunderstorms coming through in the morning hours, but the updated run this afternoon kind of delays the rain until we get late morning into the afternoon hours, and this is actually indicating maybe the potential for a few stronger storms. So we'll have to watch that trend pretty carefully here, but notice those northerly winds move in behind that. So depending on the timing of when that system moves through and when those winds to the north, that'll kind of dictate our temperatures here as we head into Friday. So stay tuned for updates on that here with the First Alert Weather Team. And my clicker, I clicked the wrong button on the clicker, so I'm going to head right back over here to the weather computer. Luckily, we have a little time to spare because I did want to give you a heads up on the First Alert days here that I talked about for Monday and Tuesday, and we've actually been talking about it here over the last couple of days. We've got strong to severe storms a possibility here Monday and Tuesday, and what's going on here is that we're looking at the larger scale weather pattern, and it does indicate the potential of strong to severe storms in the Midwest with large hail, damaging wind, and even some tornadoes possible. We're already in outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center this far out, and that's how we know that we do have that possibility. So it's Monday into Tuesday. I will tell you that the threat Monday does include most of the TV6 viewing area. That shifts to the east here as we head into Tuesday. So still a lot of time to iron out that forecast here. So definitely download the First Alert Weather app for updates. Again, that temperature of 69 degrees is kind of in flux here on Friday. It could be a little warmer if we delay the rain. Could be a little cooler if that rain moves in sooner. So you'll want to stay up to date with the First Alert Weather Team here as we head throughout the rest of the week. The weekend actually not looking too bad. We'll see a partly cloudy sky here Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s. There's your 81 here on Monday, so that kind of sets the stage. We've got the warmth. Dew points will likely climb in the 60s, so it'll kind of be a muggy day here, almost a summer-like day on Monday as we track that potential for some thunderstorms. So a lot to keep track of here over the next day, Morgan.
I guess.
Several days, I should say. But hey, it wouldn't be spring here in Iowa and Illinois without the fluctuating weather, right?
No, it wouldn't. And you were talking about, you know, the 7-day, and I'm thinking I don't check my weather app as much as I do now. like this
Yes.
time of year.
Exactly, because it can just change from one day to another. You might need the
From
coat
one hour
day.
to another.
Exactly, you might need the shorts the next.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, coming up next, we are talking with a Hy-Vee dietitian about the real benefits of going green. From lettuce to spinach and arugula, learn simple ways to sneak more greens into your meals.
You're watching Quad Cities Live.
April showers bring May flowers, but for dietitians, they bring something even better.
They do. Fresh, vibrant salad
Oh, yes.
greens. Spring is in full bloom, and it's the perfect time to refresh your plate with seasonal produce. And here to help us, Romaine Calm.
Love that. Great writing.
And get creative with leafy greens is Hy-Vee dietitian Caitlin Milligan. Caitlin, welcome back.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks
Yes.
for being here today.
Yes.
You look great. You look like a leafy green.
I know.
We love it.
It matched you.
Yes.
Okay, so Caitlin, talk a little bit more about why this is such a great time of year to get some green in our diets.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate for the spring to have so many great produce, and this time of year is a great time for everything to blossom and bloom.
Yeah.
And that comes with salad greens too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what makes peak season great for greens? Because obviously, like you mentioned, we can get our fresh greens really any time of year, but it's really this time where we're very fortunate to have all of these blossoming greens.
Yes, well, at the springtime, and especially when it's local,
Yeah.
too, that can also help. And so a lot of people are growing it in their gardens too, but we also are great to always have it at our stores.
Absolutely. Okay, so how can incorporating more greens into our diet support our overall health and nutrition? What's in these greens that's going to be so beneficial to us?
So they're just packed with vitamins and minerals, vitamin A, K, magnesium, potassium, some iron, and also it's a great form of fiber. So it's, and we need 25 grams of fiber per day.
Okay.
So this is just an easy way to add in more things.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Get your vitamins in, get your fiber in. I don't think I really would have really even known that they
Yeah.
were such, producers of fiber. So that's another good one.
And this is why we're always told, have more greens in your diet because they have so many benefits. So one of those ways is with lettuce. And you've got your top picks of lettuce for us, starting with romaine lettuce, which I think
Yes.
many of us are very familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that romaine is oftentimes on our burgers, on different sandwiches. But, and there's romaine hearts, and then there's the
Yeah.
single types that you can get too.
Okay.
And you can even grill romaine, which isn't always thought to do.
No.
I know, I love
It
this.
can add it more of a crunch, and there's all different types of recipes to do with it
And I
too.
like how you mentioned adding a little more crunch because for a lot of people, it's the texture that bothers them. So if you don't really like the texture of romaine, maybe grilling it is a good idea.
Like a
Kinda try
grilled
it.
romaine Caesar or something like that. I've had that
Yeah.
before. It's really,
That
really
sounds
good.
real
Okay, so next on your list is arugula.
Yes.
So what should people know about arugula, and how do you like to use arugula?
I love to use arugula. I also think it lasts in your fridge longer than a lot of other
Yes.
Okay.
lettuces.
Good to
So yes, but this one is more of a peppery flavored lettuce. It's related to broccoli, cabbage. It can be thought of as more of a cleanser too.
Okay.
It has plenty of antioxidants that help with cell maintenance and prevention of disease.
Okay.
So yeah, I love it, and I like to add arugula, especially to sandwiches. You can add it to pasta, maybe in soups.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or just your own salad.
Sounds like I need a little more arugula.
I know. I'm like, I'm on board
The
with
benefits
arugula.
Yeah.
of this. So you bring up a good point on it lasts a little longer than regular lettuce. How long would a lettuce salad mix kind of last in the fridge?
You know,
for us?
it maybe depends on. You don't always know how long it's been out to, or but I'd say a good week.
a good
week
week.
or-
Oh gosh.
yeah.
You have a week to eat that
Yes,
salad.
pay close attention to what's on the label there. So the next one we want to talk about is spring mix, which I think a lot
Yes.
of us
I
are familiar
love,
with.
yeah.
Very versatile. What actually is incorporated in a spring mix?
So spring mix has multiple different types of
Yeah, very
lettuces,
colorful.
so that can be nice to just change up the flavor a bit. There's endive, there's red lettuce, green lettuce. Sometimes there's arugula in there as well.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but another thing that I like to use is the salad spinner. Have you guys ever used
Yes,
it?
Yes,
I
we
love my
have.
salad spinner.
Yes, because that can
so
also
fun.
help with mixing up all your ingredients evenly, and it takes out some of the liquid, so then that will help with
Morgan loves
so
it.
yeah,
Having fun.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah.
And so it just keeps it crisper and fresh.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like used it to wash.
Yeah, wash.
I didn't know it had
wash
those
it off,
benefits.
Yes.
Toss it around.
Yep.
Yeah,
can
that's
help,
very,
yeah.
very cool. Okay, so let's talk about sneaking some of those leafy greens into our meals, because sometimes whether it is us and, you know, we need a little trickery for ourselves,
Yes,
or maybe it's a child, what are some ways that we can just make sure that we're getting more of that and sneaking them into meals?
I'd say just, you know, if you can think of the My Plate, a fourth of your meal is going to need to be vegetables. So maybe having it doesn't have to be a huge thing of a salad, but it can just be something that you incorporate in your meals as well. Or I think just seasoning up your salads is also really going to help.
Okay.
Adding in sunflower seeds, cranberries, tomatoes. You
yeah.
can even put some salmon, whatever you want. It's kind of up to you. And then another thing is just you can add basil, you could add thyme, you can add different
greens.
herbs that also will help with spicing it up. And then just trying to add it to your salads, or your sandwiches, or if you're eating, you know, what can you add to all of your meals? Like
Yeah.
if you're eating soup, can you add something? If you're eating pizza, if you're eating tacos, what else can you add?
Well, I was
to
going to
it?
add, recently we've done it with our pasta sauce. Just adding a little green in there. So that's one good way to get it, I
And
suppose.
that helps, yeah. Well, always great ideas.
Yeah.
Hy-Vee Dietitians, they provide also individual consultations, monthly subscription programs. Many insurance plans are now accepted with Hy-Vee Dietitians. So if you have, you know, an issue, or you want to, you know, tackle something in your diet, connect with a Hy-Vee Dietitian and schedule a free discovery session. And to do that, just visit hyvee.com/health. Caitlin, as always, amazing ideas, amazing display. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming
Thanks,
today.
Caitlin. Well, next on Quad Cities Live, sustainable gardening, invasive plants to watch out for, and how your family can dig into fun and conservation. Iowa State Extension will join us next.
You're watching Quad Cities Live.
With warmer weather rolling in, it's the perfect time to get your hands in the dirt and do it in a way that helps both your yard and the environment.
Yeah, free sustainable gardening class is happening soon in Bettendorf, and everyone is welcome to attend. And here to tell us about it is Jolinda Agers. She is a Scott County Natural Resource Program Coordinator for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. As always, Jolinda, it's a pleasure having you on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that class here momentarily, but first let's start with the basics. We've had many guests on here over the last few weeks talking about sustainable living. So why is it important for sustainable gardening, and what is it?
Okay, so you just really want to think of your yard as its own little ecosystem. So what are some of those small things that you can do just to make it more environmentally sustainable and friendly? So the class on Tuesday will be covering like turf grass, watering, plant selection. So there's just a lot of big and little things that people can do to their yards to help improve those situations.
Okay, so that class, it's coming up next week, Tuesday, April 29th. So people can expect to learn just that. Like, these are very manageable things. Like, so if you are someone who is not great out in the yard to begin with, guilty, this is stuff that's going to be very digestible for people.
Correct, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay.
All right, so talk about who this is open. Obviously, it's open to everyone, but is this just for the inexperienced gardener like Morgan? And I'll put myself in that too. I'm not just going to have you take the fall for this, Morgan.
Me right under the
No, I trust me. The questions I asked Jolinda before the break, I mean, yeah, we'll get to that. But is this for master gardeners as well?
Master gardeners can join us, but this is just geared toward the average homeowner.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so talk about what kinds of gardeners would benefit from the class. You know, we talk about beginner gardeners. What specifically are they going to be learning? Like, you brought some plants with you today.
This will be for what we'll get to in just a moment.
Okay.
But Yeah, so the new homeowners, if they have just a yard for the very first time, they can kind of take a look and see if there are any invasive plants that are in the yard already. So that is a big issue because unfortunately there are still some garden centers that sell invasive plants.
Sure.
And so we can suggest some alternatives.
Well, and you're so right, because I think that I would just look at my yard and I would not automatically know if something was an invasive plant. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, so there's a good website called Yard and Garden from Iowa State University, and that has all kinds of answers and articles about just common garden questions.
Sure. Okay, so the event is free, but pre-registration.
It's appreciated, just so I know about how many to expect.
Okay, speaking of invasive,
Yes.
can we talk about the...
Yes, so...
Now's the time.
So this is actually called garlic mustard. I actually swung by a park on the way here
Yeah.
You just
pulled
found some.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Very invasive.
So yes, this is a very invasive plant. Like a lot of them, they were brought over from Europe in the mid 1800s.
Yeah.
And it has just spread to our natural areas.
Wow.
Okay.
So this garlic mustard, it can grow 2 to 3 feet tall, and each plant can produce thousands of seeds.
Sure.
Okay.
So one of the best management techniques is to just hand pull it before it goes to seed.
Okay.
So it's an allelopathic plant, so that means it puts a chemical into the soil which prevents other plants around it from growing.
So we definitely don't want these.
So like you saw in the picture there, it'll just grow these dense stands of just all garlic mustard.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, you know, the question that I asked, which was kind of not a great one, was like, oh, how am I going to be able to tell? Well, now that you mentioned that they're 2 to 3 feet tall,
Yeah,
you'll be able to tell very clearly if you have this in your yard.
So these are just getting started here,
Yeah.
but yeah, they will get 2 or 3 feet tall. And if you wanted to actually take off a leaf and crush it and smell it, it really smells like garlic.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to. And what we
Sounds
just
fun,
had up
right?
on the screen too is that there's going to be garlic mustard pulls at a couple of locations in Davenport here coming up in May. So Fairmont Cemetery and Sunderbrook Park.
Yep.
They're on the west side of the city, so people can come and help and get rid of an invasive plant.
Yes, and the one on
Ooh,
May.
I like how it smells.
Yes, it smells good.
It can be a bit
It's not good
potent,
for the
yes.
yard.
And the garlic mustard pull on May 3rd, we are actually going to have a free lunch afterwards for everyone who
great.
participates. So we appreciate registration for that too, so we have enough food.
That is wonderful. Yes. And before we've got 30 seconds left in the show, so I just wanted to mention an upcoming Master Garden plant sale and Pollinators Palooza.
Yes.
Yes.
Mark your calendar for May 17th. This is a really fun thing to do and bring the kids. It's a good time. So yeah, I actually really like how this smells, Kyle.
Yeah, it smells good. We just got to get it out of our yards. All right, Jalinda, thank you so much. You can see the website on your screen.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for watching Quad Cities Live here on this Wednesday.
Your news at 4 is up next.